No one knows that I have lived this life before. In my first life, I watched her die. I was there, floating above the snow-buried battlefield, a spirit unmoored from flesh, when Aurelia drove her bare hands into the frozen earth, digging through ice and blood to reach my body. Her 10 fingers split open one by one. She did not stop. She never stopped. Her lips moved in murmurs swallowed by wind. Lady Vivian. Mother. She called me Mother. I who had never given her that name willingly. I who had taken her into my household out of obligation and later out of calculation. Never out of love. Not entirely. Not at first. After they carried my frozen corpse back to camp, she returned to the command tent without weeping. She stood before the sand table with composed eyes and a bleeding mouth and began planning the next assault. She worked until she collapsed. She rose and worked again. She grew thin as winter reeds. She sent Northern Dai forces to their graves by the thousands, all for me. On the day Great Jin defeated the Northern Dai, Aurelia fell on the battlefield with blood pouring from her lips. I rushed toward her, frantic, helpless, and was swallowed by light. When I woke, I was alive again. The morning after my husband Caspian had been sent north to suppress bandits. The day before, everything would have begun to unravel. I remembered everything. I gathered my people and ran. This time I would arrive before the disaster. This time I would earn what she gave me. Chapter 1. The Woman with the Silver Whip. The year Aurelia turned 5. Lady Vivian Ashcroft, wife of Great Jin's most celebrated general, feared throughout the capital, as a woman of iron and storms, arrived at Concubine Alley with a silver whip at her hip and honey candy in her sleeve. The neighbors gathered at the courtyard gate and whispered with barely contained delight. They expected blood. Concubine Alley had a tradition of it. Just last winter, a woman from the West Lane had been stripped and carved with shameful words, tied behind a carriage like livestock. The general's wife has finally come for the concubine, they murmured. How long before she suffers the same? Aurelia clung to her mother Seraphine's robes and wailed. Lady Vivian crouched before the child, her expression severe as carved jade, and placed a honey candy between those trembling lips. Little girl, she said coldly.
If you keep crying, I'll sew your mouth shut.
Then, and here was the strange part, the impossible part, the thing that would change everything. Aurelia heard a second voice, not from Lady Vivian's lips, from somewhere behind her composed face, where no one was supposed to be. 5-year-old little one? Her cheeks are so soft and smooth, so pleasant to pinch. Aurelia blinked. She stared up at the formidable woman whose lips had not moved. The candy dissolved sweetly on her tongue. She had stopped crying. Lady Vivian's inner voice bubbled on, entirely unguarded. Goodness, did I frighten her? Thank heavens I brought candy. Such large eyes. They could melt anyone's heart. Little girls truly are more adorable than boys. I only managed to birth that dark little coal lump of mine. Then, quieter, with a gravity. That made no sense given the honey and the pinched cheeks. Fortunately, I arrived in time to save them. Aurelia went still. She heard everything Lady Vivian thought but never said. She heard the difference between the woman's ice-cold face and her warm, frantic inner world. And she understood, even at 5 years old, that these were not the same person the neighbors described. The rumors had called Lady Vivian a night demon who ate human flesh. Her thoughts called the neighbors noisy rats whose tongues deserved removal. These, Aurelia reflected, were different kinds of monster entirely. That afternoon had already been catastrophic before Lady Vivian's arrival. A drunk man named Grogan had broken into their home and pinned Seraphine against the door. Not a single neighbor came. She bit down hard on his ankle until she tasted blood. He kicked her across the floor. She crawled back. "Uer!" Seraphine's terror-born strength found her hairpin. She stabbed it into Grogan's hand and gathered her daughter. They never came. There was a thud, then screaming, then the rhythmic crack of silver leather against a man's body. Aurelia peeked through barely open eyes.
I, Vivian Ashcroft, despise men who bully women most of all.
The grand gates of Ashcroft Manor stood tall, bathing in the golden hues of the setting sun. Lady Vivian returned with a presence that commanded the very air around her. Little Aurelia looked up, feeling smaller than ever in this fortress of stone and silk. Inside the hall, the air grew heavy with the lady's first grand declaration. Aurelia will move into my quarters and receive my personal instruction. The announcement fell like a hammer, leaving the room in a stunned silence.
I don't want to. Aurelia only needs mother.
The invincible general was suddenly defeated by a 5-year-old's certainty. I am accomplished in both literary and martial arts. Others would beg for this opportunity and she refuses? Externally, she remained a statue of ice, unmoved by the child's outburst. You shall spend your days under my instruction, but at night you may sleep with your mother.
Aurelia weighed the deal with the wariness of a little fox.
She sensed the ground shifting beneath her, hearing the truth hidden in the lady's heart. The contract was signed with a reluctant nod and a heavy sigh. Daytime brought the demon training, where sweat and discipline ruled. The general showed no mercy, demanding perfection in every move. Despite the exhaustion, a tiny spark of defiance flickered in her eyes. Behind the iron mask, her heart bled for the child's struggle. Aurelia caught a glimpse of the softness hidden within the storm. But when the moon rose, the demon turned back into a mother. The sanctuary of the night was the only reward she truly craved. In the silence of the room, the general's armor finally fell away. She drifted off to sleep, knowing the demon was actually her shield. A secret touch, a silent promise to protect the second chance. Her inner world was a garden of joy she dared not show the world. As dawn broke, the mask returned, and the training began anew. In the heart of Ashcroft, a legendary bond was being forged in fire and love. The next morning, just after dawn, Lady Vivian plucked Aurelia from her warm bed. She dressed her in practice clothes and marched her to the manor's training hall. First, show me a horse stance.
What is a horse stance?
Lady Vivian rubbed her forehead. Her inner voice sighed. I forgot she's only 5 years old. Watch me, your form must be precise. Aurelia attempted to imitate the position and wobbled immediately. Lady Vivian rose and forcefully spread her feet apart. It hurt enough that Aurelia nearly cried out. General Caspian Ashcroft returned from suppressing bandits 3 months after their arrival. Lady Vivian drove him from their shared quarters to sleep in the study. Seraphine heard about this and wore an anxious expression for days. Aurelia spent an entire evening trying to catch a glimpse of her father. She watched him carry an abacus into Lady Vivian's quarters. He emerged, rubbing his knee, limping slightly. He had the bearing that made the air straighten up. Heroes are always busy, Aurelia reasoned. I will forgive him for never visiting me.
Who's there?
Aurelia fell backward. He pulled her out. They stared at each other.
Father.
Which family's child are you? Why are you calling me father?
This is Seraphine's daughter. Don't tell me the general doesn't recognize his own child? He scooped Aurelia up and strode away at a pace that made the world bounce. The visit between her parents was entirely silent until Aurelia could not stand it anymore.
Mother, didn't you say you missed Father? He's right here. Aren't you happy?
The general sprayed tea across the table. Seraphine thrust a handkerchief at him. Aurelia pieced together her first inkling that the world was more complicated. She heard, "Perhaps we should tell her that Aurelia isn't actually... Aren't I simply mother's and father's child? What other origins could there be?"
Mother, Mother, don't scare me. Awful Lady Vivian, I hate you. Please, please save her.
He said this pendant was for an arranged marriage. Now, it appears here... Could it be...
The Lantern Festival came only once every 3 years, and Celeste used this fact as both bribe and threat.
This is a once in 3 years event. I must go. And to prevent you from tattling, you are coming with me.
She pushed Aurelia through a gap in the corner wall before Aurelia could form a proper objection. The streets were extraordinary. Aurelia stood with her neck craned back and her eyes wide, cataloging everything.
So ignorant. I'm in a good mood. I'll treat you.
Thank you, elder sister. Who's your elder sister? Stay close to me, the crowd surged. In the stampede of excitement, Aurelia lost Celeste entirely. Lord Chancellor Rowan was descending a wine shop staircase when their eyes met.
Which family's young miss might you be? This chancellor finds you somewhat familiar.
Aurelia left quickly, feeling his gaze between her shoulder blades the entire way. Best to keep her distance. Lady Vivienne was waiting. The punishment, both girls kneeling in the ancestral hall, was swift and inevitable.
Since you didn't betray me today, you can have it. Just take it. From now on, I, Celeste Ashcroft, acknowledge you as my younger sister.
Where I have a bowl of soup, you'll have a cup of broth. I truly hope our circumstances are never that desperate, Aurelia thought. Did you encounter anyone strange at the festival? Lady Vivienne's thoughts churned. He's using this portrait to search for someone. She must take after her father. My father is the general, she thought. And I don't look like the general at all. We leave this afternoon. Hanchuan City. Halfway through the journey, mountain bandits ambushed the caravan. These people came prepared? Dorian stood before them at 13 with a blade he knew how to use. Arrows began falling. It was Lady Vivienne who stepped forward, taking the arrow in her arm. This, Aurelia thought. Watching her is what courage looks like when it is not performing. They arrived at an ancient manor that had once belonged to the Wei family.
Payment. We need it.
Aurelia added it to the growing weight of questions she was not yet old enough to ask. The shadows of the past were closing in on the young girl. No matter the cost, she would protect the secret of Hangchuan. The true storm was only just beginning. To be continued.
Years passed like water, mending what was broken, making it stronger at the seams. In martial arts, Celeste surpassed everyone. Her talent was a force of nature.
Piercing a willow leaf at 100 paces? That will be child's play someday.
While her sister mastered the blade, Aurelia mastered the mind, unraveling strategies like keys in a lock. She preferred to shape situations rather than receive them. Lady Vivian watched them, her heart echoing a past life. Even now they walk the same paths. But peace is a fragile glass. The Azure Guard arrived like a cold shadow.
The traitor Wei Zhou's bloodline, sentenced to complete clan extermination.
Father.
Lady Vivian stood at the threshold, a barrier of silk and steel. Is this how you conduct investigations? You're wasting the Empire's taxes on a single portrait.
You obstruct official business at the risk of becoming an accomplice.
As long as I stand here, you take no one from my manor. Northern Dai spies in the city, Lady Ashcroft is in danger. The people of Hanchuan knew loss, and they knew who truly protected them. The Azure Guard found themselves powerless against the absolute conviction of the city. Do you think Chancellor Rowan will let you return safely in this state? They were cast out like common thieves, their authority stripped by the very people they meant to oppress.
Mother, why do they call my father a traitor?
Because the truth is often the most dangerous weapon in the capital. A small victory, but the storm was only gathering strength for what lay ahead. 5 more years of war awaited them, and the greatest betrayal was yet to be revealed. Vivian gathered evidence with the precision of a hunter who knew which traps had failed before. This time I will not be too late. The daughter of the war god has found her path. The real battle begins. Years passed in the way they do when something has broken and been rebuilt. Imperfect at the seams, but stronger in the breaks. Aurelia and Celeste grew, their bond and strength forged in the fire of discipline. Dorian went to the military camp as the shadow of the northern die loomed larger. Lady Vivian gathered evidence against Rowan with the precision of a predator. In martial arts, Celeste surpassed everyone. Her swordsmanship was called natural talent.
Piercing a willow leaf at 100 paces. Child's play someday.
Aurelia preferred the proactive method. She preferred to shape situations. She would read strategy and feel the patterns click into place like teeth of a key.
Even in this life, they walk the same paths.
The Azure Guard arrived at the manor on a day that began like any other. He stood with portraits of Aurelia and the man who bore her features. Father... Aurelia understood, looking through the gap in the stone pillar.
The traitor Weizhuo's bloodline, sentenced to complete clan extermination. A survivor has been identified. We are here to take her into custody.
Lady Vivian stood at the threshold with her silver whip held like a bar.
Is this how the Azure God conducts investigations? Wasting the Empire's revenue today. As long as I, Vivian Ashcroft, stand here, you take no one.
The citizens of Hanchuan City arrived with absolute conviction.
Lord Rowan is suspicious. Do you think he'll let you return safely?
5 years later, General Ashcroft vanished. Lady Vivian departed for the north. They found the general buried in snow. He revealed a shocking secret.
I believe Wei Jewel, your father, may still be alive.
The message came at midnight. Handwriting that made Aurelia's hands tremble. The man waiting inside wore black, carved by war, and carried grief.
Father, I'm Aurelia. I'm Rong Nian Yu.
The war found its ending, as all wars do eventually. The Wei family name was restored. Justice was finally served.
Thank heavens. This time, I arrived in time.
May the years be long and good, and may all people find peace.